All right, so that we've got our database set up, our diet facts database, let's go ahead and put in one product just so that we'll have something in there that we can start basing what we're looking at around as we explore the framework of Odoo. So I just happened to pick up this Oscar Mayer deli turkey breast. I can go ahead and select this right here, and we'll just pick this as our product and paste that in as so. And we don't have to have a cost or anything. This is more for nutrition facts. This site doesn't even keep costs in it, but if we wanted to, we could say that this is, the average cost for this product. But what we're going to be focusing on is the fact of what we don't have built into Odoo here. Mainly, what we'll look at is some of these simple things like calories. We don't have calories, and there's no place to put that, and that is yet something that might be searched on. In other words, people might want to see only the products that have under 200 calories, for example. So we're going to see how we could add that to our product model. And when I use the word model, it's important that I emphasize that that's part of the Odoo framework. Odoo keeps data in models, and everything within Odoo that you see, that whether it's a sales order or if it's a product or it's a customer, doesn't matter what it is, underlying that particular item is going to be a model. And so what we're going to do is look at the debug mode inside of Odoo to start to get a little bit better understanding of the Odoo framework. So you go up here to this little question mark and you'll find an about. So you choose about, and here is activate the developer mode. So go ahead and click activate the developer mode. Now, things run a little slower when the developer mode's active. And when I mean a little slower, it can be a lot slower. You can see this was pretty fast because it's a brand new version of Ubuntu. But one of the things that you'll see is it's added an icon up here, and this is called the debug menu. And this is one aspect that we'll be looking at as we explore Odoo. And another thing that happens when we do this is if we jump over here to settings, we're going to now have a lot more options available here under technical. Previously, you would not have gotten all these when we were not in debug mode. Now, if we get out of debug mode, we can go up here. Actually, now I think you can get out of debug. There's a glitch here. Let me try going back to another menu and see if it fixes it. It did. I can choose leave debug mode here, which will basically get rid of this. So this is, in our URL, is what's telling Odoo that we are in debug mode. But let's go ahead and click leave debug mode, because you need to know how to get in and out of it, because it does slow things down considerably when you are in debug mode. If I go to settings now, it is giving me those. Let me shift refresh and see if it gets rid of, brings them back. Yeah, okay, so another trick that I just kind of showed you there is you're going to use shift refresh a lot when you're moving in and out of technical mode or debug mode. When I did a shift refresh, you'll notice, look at how many options we lost here. All we have is users and our dashboard, which is what we see here, and we've lost our technical settings. So technical settings in debug mode are one and the same. So watch again. I go to about, I activate the developer mode, and when we come back to our settings, notice how we have all these other options available. So debug mode's important. You're going to need to use debug mode to get in underneath the hood of Odoo to really understand the framework and how things work. So now one of the other things I'll do when I'm studying Odoo's framework and I'm using debug mode is I'll a lot of times right click like on sales here and say open the link in a new tab. So now I actually have two tabs running. One where I can look at like database structure and some of the underpinnings of the framework, and another tab that I can go to actually look at the forms and the things that are inside of the applications themselves. So let's see how this works in action a little bit. If I go here to products, I want to find out what model this is. I know that it's about products, but I need a technical term. And so if I mouse over one of these items, like this product type, notice how it brings up this black box, and inside of it is a description. It says, a consumable is a product for which you don't manage stock. A service is a non-material product provided by a company or individual. So this is our basic help. But in debug mode, notice how we get so much more information. We get to see the field type. And so it's basically saying here that our object is product.template. So notice field is type. If I go down to this one, I can see that the field is default underscored code. If I go to this one, I can see that the field is barcode. And I can see that all of them, the object is product.template. This one, object product.template. This, object product.template. Now the third item, notice, is selection on this case. With product type, it's a selection that lets me pick, if I hit edit here, between these different options. So it's a selection, and it's delineated there under type. If I go to internal reference, notice how type is now CHR for character. I go to barcode, we'll also see that that's CHR for character. Let's look at sale price. We can see that the field name is actually not sale price. Instead, the field name is list underscore price. And this is important because as we start to build Odoo applications, you're going to need to reference this data by these fields and by these types. Now, if you've never programmed before, a lot of this might sound a little bit confusing to get started. So expect to watch some of these videos again so that you can understand these basics, because it's important to understand that this deli fresh turkey breast Cajun style is a product.template record. It's part of the product.template model. Right now there's only one. If I go here and look in the list view, I can see that there's one deli fresh turkey breast Cajun style. This is of product.template. That's the type of object it is. That's the model for it. So now let's go over here to our database structures and look at models. And we can take what we learned from here. Notice how we have that object, product.template. I can go over here to our models and type that right in here, product.template. And notice it just brings up one record here, and I can see the model description is product template. And if I click it, I can see all the fields that are part of this model. And more importantly, it's not an accident that some of these things are what you would call obvious, or we've seen them before. Default code. Where did we see default code before? Well, if you remember when we were over here under internal reference, if I mouse over this, the field there is default underscore code. If I jump back over here again, I can look through here, and here's our barcode field. And I can click on it, and it brings up other properties and more advanced attributes. We don't need to get into all these right now. But the most important thing to understand is that these models right here is where all your data gets stored. It's where everything resides. And these fields are going to match fields that you see here in your forms. So if I mouse over this, what's called sale price, notice how the field name is list price and the type is float. Well, why do they call it a float? Well, a float is a type of number that is used for decimal places. So it's a lot of times used for currencies. So we have CHR for characters to store character type data, which can be a mix of characters or numbers. We have a selection type. Notice how we could pick from this selection here. And so that's a type of selection. And here you'll see that this one is a type of float. Well, if we jump over to models, we'll see, if I go down here to list price, notice we can see here float. And we can see here sale price is actually what it's called right there. So that's how it gets sale price there, shows up here. So that's the basic of models. In the next lecture, we'll take a look at how we can change some of these models and make them affect what we see in our views.